Those champions have had one thing in common, the same trainer-manager, my target for tonight. Only way we can get past your guard. So that I could say, Master Manager, maker of champions, Terry Lawless, tonight, this is your leg. Oh, well, it's only the first round, Terry, and all the boys are going to come back to the theater and swing a few more rounds on you. You always refer to your boxers and team of trainers as your family, Terry, and they're all here, past, present, and future, but the gathering would not, of course, be complete without the lady you mentioned seconds ago, your wife, Sylvia, your daughter, Lorraine,
How did you do it?
your son, Stephen, Lorraine's husband, Trevor, Sylvia's sisters, Linda and Valerie, and Valerie's husband, John. Well, as we can see from the talent on show in the ringside seats, Terry, you're quite a manager, but there's someone who thinks he could show you a thing or two about how to manage boxers. Just watch that screen. And he's here tonight, the one and only Freddie Starr. And here, too, the boxer he drives a novel, unbeaten heavyweight hope Frank Bomber Bruno. Oh, now, they're one of the secrets. Now, Freddie, you fancy yourself as a boxing manager, then?
Yeah, they're all boxers in our family, except my dad. He was a Cocker Spaniel. No, this man here, Eamon, he is the greatest of all time. He really is. He looks after his fighters, that's good. That's top-class man. Yep.
Right. I know Frank agrees with that.
Yeah, I do agree with that.
Thank you, Frank Bruno and Freddie Starr.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Here's the song.
Well, Terry Lawless, this is your life, and it started in Venue Street, Poplar in London's East End on March 29th, 1934. You were the only child of your late, lovingly devoted parents, and in 1936 you moved with them here to Benson Avenue, Upton Park. Now, the view we usually get of you, Terry, is looking in from the outside of the boxing ring as one of the world's great managers and cornermen. And to underline just how respected you are in the international arena, Terry, if you look at that screen, we're going to hear from another great manager and cornerman whose headquarters are in Miami. He knows all there is to know about World Championship boxing, from Muhammad Ali to Sugar Ray Leonard and back, Angelo Dundee.
Hi, Eamon. And, Terry, you must be really sky high. This is your life. I think that's dynamite. You deserve it, but they're going to have to do 3 more of them on you because you're just beginning. And by the way, I'm a little jealous about that heavyweight you got, that Frank Bruno. Boy, he really shapes up. And, man, you had 4 world champions. Are you trying to catch up to me, Terry? Good luck to you, and have a great night.
Thank you, Angelo Dundee. But Terry, when you first went inside the ring, you found that boxing could be a hard game. Let me recall for you an occasion just after the war when, as a little boy of 11, you'd put the gloves on at your school at St. Bonaventure's, West Ham, came off second best and headed for home.
It broke my heart when I saw your little face all bashed in.
And she told you never to box again.
Your late father's sister, Aunt Julie, and your cousin with whom you were evacuated during the war, Arthur Elliott. Julie, you didn't approve of him boxing then?
No, I did not. His dad was my, I was his sister, and I went to your house one day, and you came home, and your face was all marked. Oh, I said, Terry.
Get better.
Oh, Terry, I said.
Be a lover.
Oh, no. don't do that anymore. Don't box anymore.
All right, I won't.
No, you didn't, did you? No, you went on the other side, didn't you?
Thank you, Julie Bryan and Arthur Elliott. After leaving school, Terry, you followed your father into the docks where you were a tally clerk before getting your National Service call-up papers in 1952. During your 2 years in the Royal Pioneer Corps, you earned sergeant's stripes, and it was while you were in the Army that you first started developing your ideas for training boxers.
That was when you were convinced you had discovered your first champion.
You haven't seen him since you were demobbed from the Army nearly 30 years ago, like yourself, a former Army Sergeant, Len Bartram. Len, what was it about Terry discovering his first champion?
We have one bloke who did exciting. Remember Punty Parker?
Yeah.
What was it, 8
Got a
stone?
picture of him.
Yeah.
8 stone 6, bantamweight. And you reckon, you sparred with him and trained with him. You rate him the one of the greatest prospects he's ever seen.
Yeah.
And the old hope that he'd come out the Army again, go training.
But Terry, what happened to that first boxing hope of yours?
We got demobbed, I suppose. We were in our ways.
That's almost 30 years ago. You lost touch with that 8-stone prospect who was in the Army with you, but we managed to trace him.
But, Terry, my fighting weight is just a little bit different these days.
Today, he tips the scales at something over the 8-stone mark, George Punchy Parker. Thank you, George Parker and Len Bartram. Shortly after your demob in 1954, Terry, you go to a Saturday evening dance at the Lyceum Ballroom in London's Aldwych, where you meet Sylvia for the first time. Now, you'd been courting for about 6 weeks when she decided to take you home to meet her parents. But Sylvia, he didn't make the best of starts on that first visit, did he?
Not really. The first evening I took him home, my mother had a habit of having a plank of wood along the fire guard into the fire. He sat down on the chair with a cup of tea in his hand, and the wood had burnt right off, and it fell out, knocked the tea up in the air. That was that. We then sat at the dinner table, and I had 2 young sisters at the time who didn't ever turn the top of the sauce bottle. He shook the sauce up in the air, and the sauce went everywhere, all over the scene. It was just like a scene from Some Mothers Do Have 'Em.
hope you've improved since then.
That was still the pain from the wood, I tell you. She didn't tell you where the tea went.
Well, that was 28 years ago. 18 months later, despite all that, on 27th of July 1957, you're married at Our Lady of Assumption Church, Bethnal Green. Now, by then, Terry, you'd started as a part-time boxing trainer while continuing to work in the docks. You managed to scrape together enough money to run a small grocery shop in Plaistow and then a larger shop in Leytonstone. And in 1961, you're granted a manager's license by the British Boxing Board of Control. Now, busy as you are, you still have time for your old pals in the docks, especially anyone in trouble.
And boy, in February 1967 was I in trouble. But you not only gave me your time, Terry, you also gave me confidence in myself.
A man with a special reason for wanting to be here with you tonight, Terry, your old docks pal, Les Ayres. Les, what was the trouble?
Well, I used to work in the same docks where Terry was based, and I was working down the whole of the ship, and a 5-ton forklift truck turned over and resulted in me having a leg amputated. And I went into depressions and, you know, wanted sympathy, but come along to this guy, and he motivated me exactly as he does his fighters. You see, the thing with Terry, he does a lot of things to help people quietly, what no one knows about. But believe me, Terry, I'd like to say thanks very much for motivating me.
Thank you, Les Ayres. well as old pals like Les at the ringside, you've made a lot of new friends, too. And if you look at that screen, you'll see a couple of special characters who like to be ringside regulars when your boxers are in action.
Hello, Terry.
Hello, Terry.
Hey, sorry we can't be with you tonight, son, but as you can see, you've caught us in the middle rehearsals of our television show.
That's all right. Terry, it's a nice night, but will you do me this? Tell Frank, them shorts he give me are too big, and I'm having it. He's got me annoyed, I'm having it. The next fight you arrange is between me and him. He's annoyed me, he told me I'm having him. You don't. He's annoyed me.
Terry, from me above you, let me just say, you're a great ambassador for British boxing, and keep it up, son. Have a great night.
Have a good night, Terry, and just tell him, that big Frank Bruno, when I hit him, I'm going to knock him over the moon. Have a nice night, Terry.
See you, Terry.
Tell hello.
Thank you, Cannon and Ball. Now, Terry, your boxing story has not always been about creating champions. In your early days as a manager, you were really having to search hard for talent.
And I was the bright one who told you you were wasting your time.
ITV boxing commentator, your friend of more than 25 years, Reg Guthridge. What was this then about Terry wasting his time, Reg?
Well, he was new at the managing business at the time, Eamon, and I said, you know, you want to start all over again and sack this lot, and you'll be all right. Actually, a couple of them went to become champions. And incidentally, Terry, I got back from the States recently, and I bumped into an old friend of ours who's not very well, unfortunately, but I know that you and I think that he's the greatest of all time, and he promised me that he'd make a phone call to you sometime.
Well, that sometime Terry is now. He's waiting to talk to you long distance from California. He's been under, as Reg implies, doctor's orders just recently. I didn't feel up to facing the cameras, but very much wanted a word with you. Sugar Ray Robinson.
Oh. Hi, Terry, old buddy. I really wanted to be there in person with you tonight, but I've got to stay in my corner. You're some manager. Keep punching, and I hope to see you soon. I know you will have a great evening tonight because you're a great manager and a great champion. Take care.
5 times world middleweight champion. Thank you, Sugar Ray, and thank you, Reg Guthridge. Sugar Ray, of course, has been a personal all-time idol of yours, hasn't he? Why?
For me, he's the greatest fighter that ever lived. To beat fighters the way he did, the way he carried himself, there'll never be anybody like him.
Well, there's another great champion for whom I know you have enormous respect, not only for his ability, but also for the dignified way he, too, represents boxing. Watch that screen, Terry, for a special message from the undefeated world heavyweight boxing champion, unbeaten 45 times in a row, the indestructible Larry Holmes.
Hi, Terry. Sorry I can't be with you tonight. But knowing you, you will score knockouts. I want to wish you the best, and I want to wish your fighter the best, Frank Bruno, because he's a knockout, too.
Thank you, Larry Holmes, heavyweight champion of the world. And Terry, one of the first great nights of your fighting life came at the Royal Albert Hall on February 20th, 1968, when you had your first title successes with two of your boxers winning British championships on the same bill. Ralph Charles outpointed Johnny Cook for the British welterweight title, and Jimmy Anderson stopped Jimmy Revy in 9 rounds in a fight for the British Junior Lightweight Championship. And 15 years on, they're both here tonight, former champions Ralph Charles and Jimmy Anderson. An all-important man in boxing, of course, Terry, is the matchmaker, the man who puts the fights together. The matchmaker who made those two all-important fights for you 15 years ago is based in California these days.
But I'm not there tonight, Eamon. Nothing would have kept me away from such an important event in my friend's life.
We've flown him from California, your close pal for more than 20 years, and one of the world's most influential boxing promoters and matchmakers, Mickey Duff, and with him, his wife, Marie, and also from their home in California, Mickey's son, Gary, and wife, Orly. Mickey, you've been in boxing more than 30 years. Terry's a great man to have in your corner, isn't he?
Oh, yes, sometimes he can be too great, Eamon. Recently, I think Neville Mead is here tonight. Yes, he is. He was working in Neville Mead's corner, and Neville was getting tired, fighting Leroy Boone. And he said, come on, you're feeling sorry for yourself. And by the time he finished rollicking, Neville said, I wish the bell would go. It's easier to fight than to be in the corner.
But seriously, Mickey, his standing in the game generally is pretty high.
I make no secret about it, Eamon. He's the greatest manager of all time for me. Certainly the greatest this country's ever had. He's the best trainer this country's ever had. He's the best motivator. He's a psychiatrist. He's a psychologist. And above all, he happens to be a wonderful human being.
Thank you, Mickey, Mary, Gary, and Orly Duff.
I wonder why you do it.
Terry, no manager this side of the Atlantic can match your record on the World Championship stakes. Your latest British title holders, Mark Kaler and Lloyd Hunnigan, and of course Big Frank Bruno over there, will be hoping to follow in the path of the 4 champions you've already guided to world titles.
Nothing in the champion's punches. And Stracey puts it all in, punch after punch, and he's been pulled off because that's too much for Napoles, and Stracey has won the welterweight championship of the world.
Mattioli, who likes to go straight forward and punch, and Hope, the southpaw counter-puncher, who likes a man to come to him. They ought to be made for each other, and they ought to put together a really marvelous fight. Oh, he's got him with the first big punch. And there's a protest about this, and the fight's been stopped. It's all over. Maurice Hope is the winner at the end of the 8th round, and Britain has a world champion. A moment when Scotland thought they had a world champion. And McCanty moves in again, and this time it is the finish. It's over. Round 12, and the Lawless camp have done it again. Round 7, the eye bleeds. Magri goes for the finish. Can he get it? And the referee is calling the doctor to have a look at it. He's calling the doctor in to look at it. It's not over yet. He wants the Adrian Whiteson's opinion, and Adrian Whiteson says he can't go on, and Britain has the world flyweight champion. Charlie is the champion. It's Champagne Charlie is my name.
3 of those champions are on parade for you tonight, Terry. Maurice Hope, Jim Watt. And Charlie Magri. From world champions to a manager, can one of you tell me what's so special about this guy?
Well, we had a fight to see who was going to get the chance to say something nice about Terry, and I lost. Still, seriously, Terry has always been a true professional. He always has been, everything he does, and the attention he pays to detail, I think, is what makes him a cut above the rest. But I'd like to say a word about Sylv, because she's a bit special as well. She's like a second mother to all the fighters. And actually... Anyway, we all clubbed together for Terry, and we've got him something which we feel typifies exactly what we feel about him.
Each time before a major contest, he pays a visit to the loo, at least 20 times.
For one of my world title fights, he broke the world record himself. He went to the toilet about 27 times.
So, what are you going to do about it?
Well, we really feel
the Jimmy Riddle Trophy. Thank you, Jim Watt, Charlie Magri, Morris Hope. Now, it's not quite the final bell, Terry. Les Ayres mentioned earlier how you're always quietly helping other people. 7 years ago, when one of your best pals, Cyril Martin, died, in the best traditions of London's warm East End community, you got some pals together to help his widow.
But with you, Terry, it didn't end there, and I'll never forget what you've done for Melissa and me.
Here, Terry, with a very special mission of thanks is Mrs. Joan Martin. Well, now, Joan, tell us about Melissa.
Melissa is my daughter, and she was 2 years old when my husband died, and Terry's always been there to help us. Unfortunately, Melissa had a serious back complaint, and thanks to Terry's help and advice and medical treatment,
she was in danger of being crippled for life, wasn't she?
And we thought she was going to be crippled for life. But I know Terry's going to hate me for saying this, but quite honestly, I don't know how we would have managed without him.
And without him was, in fact, enough help for two.
Yes, and I would like to thank you too.
Yes, Terry, 11-year-old Melissa Martin, the little girl you never forgot. Melissa. Terry Lawless, this is your lesson.